Namaskar. I want to wish all the listeners of Radio Chutney and the management team and the operations team at Radio Chutney my warm wishes for a happy Deepavali. And I hope to look forward to more opportunities to interacting with your team and also with your listeners at various community events in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much.
His Excellency, we are a radio station, a new radio station. I have been an RJ in Singapore, and Radio Chutney is our newest venture with a partner, which is bringing not Bollywood music, but across the globe. There are a lot of independent musicians, artists, bands that do not have a platform. This is an effort, of course, we're getting a lot of response from India, US, Maharashtra, especially because we started a Marathi segment on the station. With people asking us, can you put in our songs on your radio? We don't have a platform, can you? So there's suddenly an overwhelming response from independent artists across the globe.
First of all, let me congratulate you on your new venture.
Thank you.
I think that's the first thing that you and your partners and the rest of your team deserve. Startups are always a very bold initiative.
Yeah.
Considering the number of radio stations that are already there in the market, I'm sure the initial few months will be challenging.
Yeah.
But I'm sure with the kind of enthusiasm I see, you will do well. I hope this offers more options, choices to the community, and that we have enough room in the market for all our radio channels to prosper. And I wish you all the success in the coming months and years, and hope that we'll have opportunities for the High Commission to work with you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this and being a part of this interview.
One of my priorities also is to try and get interaction going between organizations. I think many organizations seem to be acting in silos. Some of the lessons that I got from my previous posting in Doha,
right,
in terms of getting various organizations to work together, talk to each other.
Right.
There are some ideas that I would like to explore here. So that's one of my agenda items here.
Lovely. Clearly, I'm sure that you have a lot on your plate and a lot of things to do in your tenure in Singapore. But tell me, to start off with and to warm up the conversation, how has Singapore been and treated you so far?
It's been good. Singapore, everybody knows, is a very well organized place.
Yeah.
Public services are very efficiently delivered. We have a large Indian community, which makes us feel at home.
Yes.
And this is probably one of the largest concentrations of highly accomplished Indians, extremely well qualified, respected as professionals. Unfortunately, the only thing is we've had a slightly slow start because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's something that is a given these days because not only in Singapore, everywhere, all my colleagues have had slow starts.
Absolutely.
So one is learning to deal with it and do what is possible within these constraints.
Fantastic. On your tenure here in Singapore, sir, a couple of things that you truly are looking forward to. Of course, dealing with the pandemic is one. But is there anything else that you truly intend that in Singapore, this is something that you should be doing?
There are many, in fact. It's very difficult to put my finger on one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Singapore is a very key strategic partner for us.
Yeah.
It is our gateway to the ASEAN region and the Indo-Pacific region in some ways. We have an extremely vibrant trade and investment relationship.
Yeah.
People-to-people contacts, connectivity, air links, sea links,
yes,
maritime links, if you will, and cultural links. Our defense relationship is growing. There is so much happening. So it's very, very difficult to put my finger on one and say, this is what I'll be focusing on. In fact, I'll be focusing on all of these areas, in addition to what I just mentioned earlier, which is to try and reorganize the community in a way that makes it a more cohesive unit, and also enable greater integration with their environment in Singapore. It is a point on which we continue to face pushback and probably need to make greater efforts to integrate with local communities.
Absolutely. So it's great to know that, local communities and the integration of local communities is one of your key points that you intend to focus on in Singapore. So what are some of the challenges that you foresee? I know it's too soon to say you've just begun, although you've just begun, but you've also begun, like you said, in a challenge itself. So what are some of the challenges that you foresee or, that probably lie ahead?
The first challenge is to try and deal with the pandemic itself. There are some immediate needs, such as people wanting to get tickets to go back for various emergencies back in India.
Yes.
Be it a relative who's unwell or relative who's passed away, or some other kind of personal emergency in India. That seems to be largely under control. We have flights almost every day.
Yeah.
A large number of flights go to Tamil Nadu, given that the demand and the number of registrations we have are maximum for Tamil Nadu. There are other destinations also that we constantly monitor and tailor the availability of flights to the number in proportion to the number of registrations that we receive on our website. So there is a dynamic management of supply on the basis of the registration that we get.
Absolutely.
So that's the immediate one. The government of India is also working with a number of partners to try and discover a vaccine for COVID-19.
Right.
Not only that, considering India's large capacities for mass production of vaccines, whoever comes up with a vaccine will still look at India as a key and promising partner for mass production of the vaccine and for distribution to large populations. So that's an area where Singapore and India will continue to explore opportunities to work.
Absolutely.
We also would be looking at helping out Indians who want to come back to Singapore after having gone to India for some personal emergencies. I understand there are a large number of people, half of whose families are in Singapore, the other half is in India, and their ability to get re-entry permits has not been up to their expectations.
Right.
So we are intervening with the government authorities in Singapore to try and help as many people as possible. But there is an element of caution here, considering the large mismatch in the number of cases in India and in Singapore. So we are doing what we can to try and help cases which are more deserving.
Yeah. What, according to you, should Indians living abroad, or particularly in Singapore, keep in mind or take note of? A strong message that you would want to give out.
Well, thank you. One of the things that I would urge Indian community members here to do is to try and make greater efforts to engage with neighbors, communities locally, and to try and find opportunities to join celebrations in a broader way. There seems to be an element of perception here that Indians tend to hang out together and therefore their ability to integrate with other communities is limited. This is not a perception that we should allow because in the long run, it will not be in the interests of the Indian community. Therefore, I think prominent members of the community should take the lead and make more efforts to find opportunities in whatever way possible. I'm sure given the quality of the community here, these can be discussed, thought through, and opportunities can be created for interaction with other communities. There should also be an effort to try and make arrangements to take care of the weaker sections of the community, especially the Indian migrant worker community.
Right.
These are people who always deserve support. My previous posting in Doha, we had an apex Indian community organization called the Indian Community Benevolent Forum, which brought together a number of smaller associations under them and would work closely with the embassy to provide various kinds of assistance to workers, be it financial assistance, wherever possible, legal counseling, medical assistance. We used to conduct blood donation camps, medical camps, etc. So all that was very, very helpful. It also sometimes awareness campaigns on various issues that come up from time to time. I would very much look forward to some kind of a community initiative in partnership with the High Commission
Right.
to be able to take care of the weaker sections of the community. So these are broadly the points that I wanted to highlight as far as the Indian community here is concerned, and find ways to make these things happen.
Very well said, sir. And I'm sure Radio Chutney, we would be delighted to offer any support of any kind at any point in time for these kind of initiatives or these kind of efforts that the Indian High Com intends to take. Moving on, sir, life beyond COVID. Now we are coming to a fag end of this year, and everybody just has these jokes floating around that let's assume that 2020 never happened. Let's believe 2020 was erased out of our life, but we are looking forward to a brighter, more hopeful 2021. Your thoughts on the same, life beyond COVID? What would you say to push the people ahead?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely on this. 2020 seems to have virtually slipped through our fingers.
Yeah.
There's nothing much in terms of great memories to remember. It's been
Absolutely.
a bit of a crisis management year right from the beginning. It's been like that. As high commissions and embassies, we've had to work through a lot of problems helping Indian communities in various parts of the world.
Right.
Repatriation flights took away many months and are still ongoing.
Yeah.
And there are, in many ways, it's been a very challenging kind of environment. I heard about all kinds of problems. My previous posting, Doha, that is where we handled the initial challenging period.
Right.
By the time I came here, my predecessor had done most of the initial work here. I heard about a number of sick people that I heard of and had to help through the embassy there. One never even knew that so many people were falling sick on a regular basis. When they made their registrations for repatriation, and we had to prioritize between somebody who had a serious medical issue or a pregnant woman or somebody who had lost a job. It was very depressing to make those choices.
Yeah.
How do you select? There are 1,000 candidates for a particular flight which has 170 seats. How do you tell somebody you're on a lower priority than somebody else? And whatever we did, people used to get upset. And we were not able to increase flights beyond a certain point because there were limitations in that regard. We had to constantly work and grind it out in terms of reducing numbers little. We moved to bring in chartered flights, etc. So overall, I was just trying to give you a sense of how difficult the year has been.
Yes.
But as far as the post-COVID world is concerned, we are still a long way from reaching the post-COVID situation.
Yeah.
As of now, various economies are being opened up all over the world. And the reason is not because it has become any safer. The reason is because the economies are taking huge hits. People are increasingly finding it very difficult to deal with the situation. Companies are finding very difficult to survive. And therefore, some amount of economic activity is required so that the economies don't reach a situation where it becomes unbearable for countries to take this kind of pain. At the same time, there have been other developments in terms of better understanding of the transmission of the virus, better capacity in terms of availability of ventilators, PPEs, masks, even medicines to treat them, remdesivir, etc., which has already been approved by FDA in the US. So therefore, somehow governments are a little more confident today about their ability to manage the disease than when it first started out. And to that extent, we are better prepared, but it's still a long way before a reliable vaccination program can be developed, vaccines can be found, mass produced and delivered to large populations around the world so that a fair amount of immunity can be achieved and life can come back to normal. That seems to be still several months away. But in terms of some broad predictions one can make, it's clear that life is going to change a lot.
Yeah.
There's more digitization happening in various businesses. Digital or internet-based companies have done extremely well. People's attitudes towards tourism and travel have changed vastly. I don't know whether it will ever return to the full strength that we are used to seeing. There are new skills that are coming into play in terms of demand created for them. The kind of jobs that are going away may also become a concern in the coming years. People may have to reskill themselves. Hospitality business may also take a hit depending on how travel eventually pans out. So these are all things that are new trends that are emerging. The way business is conducted itself has been facing huge challenges. Business travel, short-term travel. If I go to India and come back, it takes me about a month. Because there is a 15-day quarantine on that side and a 15-day quarantine on this side. So this short-term business travel for 1 or 2 days has become virtually impossible.
True.
So people are getting used to virtual meetings. I'm sure there will be questions raised in the future about how much travel is actually required. Why not do at least part of the work through virtual modes?
Virtually,
Even diplomacy, the way it is conducted, has changed in many ways. A lot of joint working groups, etc., are meeting virtually. But there are things that cannot be done virtually. For example, trade fairs, etc., where equipment, products need to be displayed. You need buyers and sellers to come together. I'm not sure how much of that can be done virtually, although there are efforts to try and do whatever is possible these days. So I'm also waiting and watching to see what are these new trends that are emerging, to which we will all need to adapt ourselves.
Those were really some eye-openers and moments of reassurance from you regarding the situation. Sir, it was a pleasure talking to you. I was supposed to be there and see you personally, but I think with the time, and I'm sure you also have a very hectic schedule, we thought I will come another time at the office and have a word with you and probably welcome you in a more better way rather than virtually. So I hope I get an opportunity to do that. But thank you so much. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskar, Jai.